he just showed me, like, don't get casual with me. Don't get comfortable with me doing this out of routine. You need to be intentional. What did you read in your devotional? You got up and read the scripture. What did it mean? How did you apply that to your day? Did you just do it out of a routine? Check. Listen to worship music. Check. Our relationship with him it cannot be casual. And I just implore you, like, don't go into the new year the same way. What's up, y'all? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Let It Be the Podcast. I'm your host, Fergie. Thank you so much for tuning in to Let It Be. I can't believe we are at the end of 2024. If you're watching this on Christmas Day, Merry Christmas to you. If you're not, I'm glad that it found you when it did. Man, this episode, obviously, I'm by myself today. And to be honest, I wanted this vibe to feel how I feel right now, which is very vulnerable, very transparent. God had asked me this. Well, he gave me like an assignment. And when he dropped it in, I was like, oh, this a little too weighty. Like, who am I? Right. And to be honest, like, he downloaded some things in my spirit, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to try to over prepare for this, because this is about to be like me being very vulnerable, very transparent. And if you read by the title, like casual Christian, right? And I was like, when he gave me that title, I was like, bro, like, I am not no pastor, no preacher. Like, who am I to talk to? But this is not about condemnation. You know what I'm saying? And so when he told me that, it made me do like really like a heart check, you know, because a lot of times, like, we think that faith stops at salvation, like at believing, but it doesn't. It goes a lot deeper into that. And so I want to talk about that today. And I think that it's kind of a good like reflection as we get to the end of the year. So forgive me if I'm like all over the place. Like I don't intend to be. If y'all know me, I know I got a little ADHD. So sometimes I'll be here and then I'll be there. But I just want to be transparent. And so that's what we're talking about today. This episode probably won't be that long, but I was just thinking about like what it actually meant to be a casual Christian, and like what it means like as you grow in faith, you know, what it looks like as you grow in faith. And to be honest, I've done that a lot this year, and I've shared it. Like I've shared all the revelations that I've gotten, the conversations that I've had. And so this is like me, like in real time, just reflecting over everything God has done and what he's taught me, in hopes that it'll help you and that it'll bless you. And maybe help you do some assessment of your own. And if you don't know, if you're new, this is your first time watching, if you found me on whatever social platform or whatever, thank you so much for tuning in. And I pray that, like, regardless of if this conversation is something that you needed, scroll through, because there's been a lot of vulnerable conversations, a lot of transparency, and a lot of nuggets dropped from all the people that have joined me this year on Let It Be the Podcast. So for starters, like I always try to like be intentional when I tell my testimony, because I don't know who's watching this for the first time. But I'll just say, if you've been rocking with me for this whole time, you know that this has been like a super surrender with Let It Be the Podcast. I used to like, I won't go down the whole spiel, but like last year is when I was like, God, everything that I am doing that I try to do in my own way, it just doesn't work. So have your way, whatever you want me to do. And I was sincere when I told God, like, okay, like you can have it. You can have all of me, you know? And I've literally taken, if you've been watching this whole time, I've taken you on that journey of what it looks like to surrender in real time. And to be honest, this podcast, if you watched the last episode, I was talking about how like it kind of hit me like, girl, this done went way far. And I didn't really know it was going to go as far as it has. I'm grateful, but it's just kind of like blew my mind. So when I think about where I was at the beginning of this year, 2024, I was like in the beginning of jumping. Like God told me, hey, I gave you an assignment last year. When I used to do Let It Be and it was only audio, because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, you know, I have background in like radio broadcasts. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have all the things. And he's just like, follow me and I'll show you. And he has done just that this year alone. He's done that. And Let It Be has evolved. There's some things like, I know things are not perfect with like my camera and all that. I just realized I changed the setting on it, and that's why the lighting be off sometimes, and I just realized what I did. Anyway, see, it's the ADHD. But anyways, thinking about what this surrender has been. And at the beginning of this year, I was new to like trying to figure out marketing, trying to figure out what's it going to look like, the consistency, what do I need? And I think a lot of times what stops us from moving in a direction of what God has assigned to us, what he's put on our hearts, is because we feel like, oh, it got to be perfect. I got to have all this stuff in order before it happens. And that's not the case. And I think a lot of times we can look at other people who may have more resources. They may have more connections. And so it might look a lot more polished and the settings might be more perfect. And so it's like, well, I can't achieve that level, so I'm not going to start at all. And that wasn't my case at all. Like last year when I literally bought, out of a season of unemployment, I bought a computer, I bought a camera, I bought a mic, I bought all this equipment because I'm like, God told me that I had to finish what I started, but I had to go higher because he's called me to more. And so thinking about the beginning of this year to now, just the promises of God and how faithful he has been, and how sometimes we get so used to the mundane, like, oh, wake up. I say, I got faith in you, Jesus. Like, I believe in you because I said my prayers. I believe that you lived and you died for me and all the things. And we just leave it at that. But I am a living, breathing, like, testimony. Like, it goes so much deeper than belief, And when I say casual Christian, like, a lot of us, and I'm going to say us because, everybody got areas in our hearts that we need to check. But we are so casual in our relationship and we just stop at believing. And I'm not saying you need to go on this crazy journey and just go out and quit your job and just pursue this one thing. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is like the faithfulness of God, trusting that God really is your provider, trusting that he loves you, believing that he loves you, believing that he'll restore, believing that he'll take you and connect you to people and things and places and heal you and help you forgive. Like, believing that about God, like, it's so, like, faith is so much deeper than just believing in the event of the resurrection. Like, it's so much deeper. And that's exactly what God has shown me, because never in my like wildest dreams did I think that this would actually be attainable for me, and I think like there's levels to faith, so like I know that everybody, it's steps, that you got to take. It takes time to build your trust, to build your faith. And, sometimes people take bigger strides than others, and like, that's completely okay. Right. But when I trusted God with my surrender, I was like, well, if you don't do it, it just won't be done because I don't know what I'm doing. And he has done just that. So thinking about in the very beginning, like the assignment that, like what God told me in the beginning of this year, he told me that I needed to be sober. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, bruh, like I'm about to go to New Orleans for the first time. And I had all of these plans of excuses of why. I was like, well, I'm going to just just on special occasion. And he was like, that's not what I told you to do. And then I ended up not even going to New Orleans anyway, the trip that I was planning to go on. And so I'm like, I didn't drink, but I was like, okay, well, I'm going to hold off on special occasions. And I was like, that's not what I said. But I didn't know that he was calling me to be sober, because normally like we have vices, and not that I'm like I'm not a big drinker anyway, but sometimes you don't know what you'll do. Like when you go through hard times and you just need to find a sense of comfort. But God, because I made that, like, I'm serious with my obedience, my yes, I was like, okay, I'll be sober, But if I would have knew everything that I was going to have to walk through and why he didn't allow me to have a crutch or a Band-Aid or something to escape my pain, I had to deal with it head on. And dealing with it was with like him, Jesus, and therapy, like really doing an inner work and not being casual with my healing and casual with my prayers. Like this year has caused me to go so deep in faith, like deeper in a level, like a bag that I never thought was possible. Even down to at the beginning of this year, like going to my church, and I'm like, okay, God, I've been here for a while, and I feel like I want to serve, but where do I serve? Where do I give back? And the Holy Spirit told me, the prayer team. And I'm like, I don't want to talk to people. Like, that is such an intimate thing to be like on the front line praying for somebody. But nonetheless, like, I surrender, right? And so in doing that, like, I just didn't know, like, the preparation this season, basically, of my, like, I think God has been testing my level of faith and obedience. Like, if I tell you this, will you do it? If I tell you this, will you do it? And, like, honestly, even me, like, surrendering to my uncomfort and joining and to be front line to pray for. And like I said, I don't really, when I pray for people, because, like, at my church, when people come down and I pray for them, I was so scared of that, for one, because I'm like, I don't know what to pray. I don't know, like, all the words, and I'm not churchy enough. And I had all these excuses as to why God couldn't use me in the way that he desired to use me, because I didn't feel like I was enough. And that's something that I've struggled with. I still struggle with, like, believing that, like, I'm enough for exactly where I am, for exactly what I have. And I'm enough for the exact thing that he's called me to, and trusting that, like, he would perfect me along the way. But the thing is, like, when you say yes to God, you're just a vessel. And so it doesn't matter if he has you wherever he has you. Like, if you trust that he is your resource, your provider, he'll give you everything you need. And so the blessing in my faithfulness wasn't even about a tangible thing. It was just, God has just shown me who he is in so many other levels than just a financial aspect, or, the miracle aspect, or coming to him when I'm in disaster. It's like, oh, you are using me as a vessel. And as a vessel, I see it up close and personal, how it's blessing other people. And that journey alone is like, you could have never told me, like, the Bree that I've always grown up, the way I've always viewed myself, is troubled, like a troubled child. I've always just viewed myself as broken, and like, I messed up too much to be used by God. He's like, no, you're the perfect person that I want to use, because there's somebody who needs to see somebody like you, who needs the banter like you, like my personality. Like, I'm very rough around the edges. I say what I feel, and it's what it is. I'm honest, I'm raw, and not everybody is comfortable in being their authentic self. Sometimes people feel like they got to perform for God, or they got to suit up and just be. And I'm like, that's not my approach, because that's not who I am. And I think that this year alone has just really made me face my insecurities, my doubts, and just, you know what? Let it be. It is what it is. This is what God said. So I'm just going to be myself. And it's been the most freeing thing for me to trust that, like God sees me. And even some of the things that I've desired, like taking leaps of faith. I remember earlier this year, I took a leap of faith and went to Atlanta. It was a solo trip. And I was like, I just want to go. I wanted to go to a live show, but God provided for me up through that entire time. Like, I didn't even have a place, like a hotel wasn't secure. I went for a live show, a podcast live show, and I didn't even have like a hotel 3 hours before the show. I'm like, God, like, I mean, not that I was just being irresponsible. Stuff just fell through, but then God showed up when things fell through. God was like, I got you. Don't worry about it. You here, I'm gonna meet you. And that, like, even little moments like that, when I look back, and like, that's what's making me trust God, even in my season. Because, like, if been following along, like, I'm still in a season of uncertainty. I don't know, but I'm still being obedient. But like, thinking about how he's provided for me in those aspects, like, yeah, when you go, if you trust me, if you trust the God that is inside of you, like, you trust that the same spirit that's in you is the same spirit that God gave us when he died on the cross, like, and so when you think about that power, it's like, I can't be casual with that. And so this year alone, when my life has really made me like, look at the full spectrum of who God is. And it made me want to know him more. And it made me want to go a lot deeper. And it's given me such a reverence for him, because it's like, God, if you've shown up in this way when I need it, or when I didn't know how this was going to happen, it's like, there's just, this season has shown me that it's so many levels to faith. And not being casual. And because I have such a reverence for him, it makes me want to live like I live for him, and my lifestyle is reflecting of that. And because, like, I take this assignment, I take this call that he's placed on my life with such reverence, I am mindful of, I try to be mindful. I'm not perfect, but like, I don't be outside doing things, or like I can't just carry myself or say what I want or post what I want, like what I want. And that's not that not that I'm being restricted, but it makes me check my heart before I do something, because I'm a reflection. You know how like your parents will tell you like, we all right, we going in this store, don't embarrass me. Or we going to these people's house, don't embarrass me. I feel the same way about God, because it's like I've shown my faith publicly, and no, this is not necessarily something that I desire to just be seen and known and all that. I actually really hate it, but I mean, let me not say I hate it. Like it's not my favorite thing, but even in this, it's like, nonetheless, God, your will be done, because this is what comes with it. And God is so gracious that he's connected me with people to teach me how to handle certain things, to teach me how to handle the weight, the responsibility. He's connected me with people that will hold me accountable, that will call me out, like that they are making sure that I'm living like I preach, you know what I'm saying? And like, I know that there's levels when it comes to faith, and like the reverence that you have and the conviction that you have. It takes time to get there, but the closer you get to Christ, the more things fall off. You can't be casual with it, because the Bible, when it talks about like you either hot or you cold, if you lukewarm, like I'll spit you out. I'm summarizing. I'll put the verse down, but like I don't want to be lukewarm, and it doesn't mean I'm perfect. It doesn't mean I do everything the right way. It doesn't mean I might not have a bad day or react out of my flesh, because I'm a human. I'm not a robot. I'm not a walking Bible. I don't just have all the, like, I don't have the power. Like, I'm not perfect. You know what I'm saying? I can strive to be like Christ, but I know I'm not perfect. And I think that even that was a process of learning, like, okay, God, well, if I do this, I got to walk a tightrope. I can't have fun. It's like that. That's not what any of that means. But like when you have a reverence in him, it's like, I don't want to be out here and embarrass my father. I don't want to talk about one thing, but then I do another. And so it's like sanctification is a process, but I'm just sharing this because these are some of the things that I've had to learn, that I'm like, that it's okay to be where I am. But the deeper that you grow in your relationship and the deeper your reverence is for God, the more things will fall off, the more people will fall off, the more environments will fall off, like the more desires will fall off, because before I was like, oh my God, I can't even have a glass of wine. But now I know it wasn't because God was telling me to be sober, because he like drinking is bad. I'm not saying drinking is bad, but I would have abused it with all the hardship that I went through this year. I know I would have been self-soothing with a glass of wine every day, or it's just too much for me, or I just want to sleep. But instead of being able to like lean on those things, like I really had to lean on God. I really had to like come back to him, search my heart, go through like, even when I'm mad or I'm pouting or whatever, and I feel like, oh God, you left me. Oh, you hate me. This is so hard. I'm following you. Why is it still hard? I'm doing what you said. Why is it still hard? Like, because I used to do that, especially when I was like way young in my faith. I would do that, and it's just be like, this God thing is just really not for me. And it's just like, actually, no. Like, as a father, he know, like, he let me have my time, but then he teach me and he bring me back closer to him, And so like, that's how my reverence has grown. And if you're probably listening so far, you're probably like, why are you sharing this? It's because like, I've had to like really have a heart check. Oh, sorry. I like my little mug. I think this is Tabitha Brown. This was a gift to me for Christmas, I think a while ago, but it's so cute. It looked like Brody. But it's made me do like a heart check. And I am only sharing this because I want you to like do the same thing. Like reflect over this year, reflect where you are. And do you feel like, ask yourself, like, if you feel stagnant, if you feel like, okay, I got like, we talked about in the last episode, that partially of faith, that partially of Jesus. It's like, I pray in the morning, or I say my prayers before I eat, or I watch sermons sometimes. It's like, do you want to stay there? Because like I was saying earlier, like salvation is so much deeper than just believing. I mean, like faith is so much deeper than just believing that he died for you. It's like, do you want to get to know him? And when I think about like the way God has like completely blown my mind this year, This has been such a hard year for a lot of people, but I couldn't imagine getting through this year without him. I couldn't have gotten through this year without him. I definitely would have been leaning on my vices, you know. I definitely couldn't have gotten through this without him. I couldn't have been I wouldn't have survived this year. This year has been so hard from complete, like, walking away from my job just to focus on, like, not walking away because God removed me from it, you know, to focusing on, like, the assignment that he's given me, but then seeing how he has provided for me in supernatural ways, even through the people that I've been connected to. Like, this year, I have met some of my heroes, like people that I never thought I would ever even have access to, people who probably don't even know how much of an impact they have on me, or even people that you might be like, even if local people, you know, like people that you've heard of them, but you don't know them for real. But then when you get to know them, it's like, wow, like, you're cool. You know what I'm saying? Or like, you helped me. And I just, man, I thank God for that. I thank God for, like, putting me in the right place. That's my prayer every morning. God, put me in the right place at the right time around the right people. And so as I reflected on all of that God has done for me and all that God has done for me this year, it's like, man, it just makes me want to get closer to him. Like, well, what else can you do? Because now I'm like, I'm empty. I'm not leaning on my own understanding. And if you are, like, listening to me and you feel like, well, that's cool for you, but, like, how do I get there? The only thing I can honestly say is you just got to start, like, your intentions. And as we get, like, since we are at the end of the year, a lot of times we do reflect, or we look over the things that we've done this year. We look over people, like, the experiences that we've had. I'm sorry. Come on, Brody. Normally I wouldn't do this, but I'm in a good mood. Jesus Christ. When I think about, like, the year that I had, this is my dog, Brody, y'all. This is my doggy. But when I think about the year that I've had, it's like, I want to get closer to him, you know, and it didn't start off this way. And sometimes it's like, you can watch people start from here. Cause I know I've done that. I've watched people on YouTube. Cause that's kind of my thing. Like, you know, I've watched YouTubers go from that to living out their wildest dreams. And I'm like, dang, I love that for them. But, like, I can't do nothing like that. It's like, why can't you? What's different from you than it is from the people that you watch, or the people that you admire, or the circles that you've been, like, that you might see? It's like, oh, I can't get there. I can't do what they do. Like, I know we got the similar type of dream, but it's like, that's not for me. God not going to show up for me in that way. It's like, how do you know? I had no idea that this would grow and go as far as it has. I had no idea that Let It Be would be a thing, you know, like, I didn't know, but I heard his word and I'm like, well, let me just try it your way. And like I was saying, like, we get to the end of the year and we reflect and we think about these things. I just don't want you watching this to live another year the same way. I don't want you to go through another year watching people that, even that's close to you, you watch people that's around you get blessed and you doing the same thing. And I'm not even talking about blessings from a tangible aspect. I'm just talking about a heart check, like a renewing of your heart, a renewing of your mind, helping you get free from addiction, whether it's alcohol, drugs, food, sex, like dating, just, man, partying, being outside, like distractions. I just don't, like, I know God wants more for us. And it don't mean that you follow him and you got to go and be this preacher or evangelist it don't mean any of that stuff, but there's just so much freedom and, like, trusting him and surrendering to him and just seeing what he's going to do. And I just don't think that, like, he intended for us to be casual about our relationship with him. And I'm not saying you got to wake up every day and, like, I wake up every day, I got to read this devotional, I got to pray for 30 minutes. I'm not saying any of that, but I'm saying that all of you, whoever you are that's listening to this, what can you do to better your relationship with God going into this new year? What can you surrender to him? How can you get closer to him? What are some goals that you have like, or that you want to have going into like this new year. Like, you don't want to live the same year again doing the same things, and the biggest highlight of your year is you went out of town, or you bought a new thing, you bought a new toy. Like, I'm talking about the internal work, man. I'm talking about the soul work. There is like, it's such a blessing, man. I got baptized this year. I used to, like, has put it on my heart before, but I'm like, I done been in the water a couple of times. Like, I believe in you, but this time it was like it was a heart renewal. It was like, no, I really believe in you. Like, I really want to live here, because it's like, baptism is like a marriage, and you're making your faith public. And that's exactly what I've done. And man, the blessing that has even come from that, it's like, I'm sharing this with whoever. This might not be for everybody, but whoever you are on the other side of this podcast, or you listening to this, or you watching this, I just want to know, like, what's keeping you from at least seeing what it's like to live, to have a relationship with God, like, to not be casual, just to get up and go to church on Sunday and then live any kind of way that you want, or only call on him when you are in disaster or in need, or when you need a miracle, or when you praying for your food. Like, that's casual stuff. I'm just saying, like, what can you do? Like, what is stopping you from just trying? And I'm telling you, like, I've been talking about this because I could feel it in my spirit. Like, our world is shifting, and God is like revealing this year. Cat Williams, prophet, has really, he told us it was going to get crazy, and it did. That's why I know, like, somebody told him something. He knows something. He in tune with something, because this year has gotten crazy. And like, when you really think about it, and I think a lot of people have had, like, I'm not gonna say this year has sucked for everybody, but this has been a tough year for a lot of people. A lot of people have gone through things, and I just couldn't imagine living through like what we all went through this year. I don't know what's on the other side of, in the new year, but I couldn't imagine going through that without having the peace of God, like a mind of Christ, like knowing him as your provider, knowing him as your protector, knowing him as your friend. And I'm not trying to like judge you or shame you, because all of us are imperfect. All of us fall short to his glory. We might not read our devotional every single day. We might not pray for 20-30 minutes every morning, and that's okay. But it is a process. It is a step-by-step thing. Like, having a relationship with God, man, it's the best relationship you can ever have. And I always tell people, like, imagine being could you say you in a relationship with a significant other, and they only hit you up when they wanted something from you. They barely gave you time. They didn't talk to you. It's like, do we really got a relationship? Like, you say we married, but when we out, you don't wear your ring. You don't act like you in a relationship. But then in private, like when you need something, then you're calling on me. It's like, I feel like God feel the same way. And I just don't want us to go into that, because there's such a freedom connected to it. And even as, like I said, like me reflecting on everything that God has done with my obedience, even though I've been like unsure, I've been scared, I've been uncertain, but I still trust him. And I've allowed, like, even in my fears, even if it's taking time for me to surrender that to him, I've lived my life where it's like, God, like, okay, I've come to the end of myself. God, help me. And sometimes it don't even take for you to get to the end of yourself for you to be like, okay, God, I want to include you in this, like, what would that look like for you to include God in your dating, to include God in your business plans, to include God in the way that you want to raise your children, to include him in your marriage. Like, if you, man, it's just a freedom. I don't know. I think that because I've seen, like, and mind you, I'm talking about this while I'm still, like, I'm in a valley still. I mean, like, I'm blessed, but it's giving valley season for me still. But I trust him, and I can only have that peace of mind because he's shown me, he's given me proof of who he is, that he is who he says he is. He has not left me. He has showed up in my hard times, because the Bible never tells us that we are not going to have hard times. We are going to have hard times, but I would rather go through hard times with him than without him. And so I don't know. I hope that what I'm saying is just making you kind of reflect on yourself and like reflecting your own heart's posture. Like, what can I give up? Like, do I want to live the same year the same. I want to do the same thing that I've been doing. Is it working for you? If it's working for you and you don't want more, then God bless you. Like, I'm not, no shame in that. But I'm telling you, there is so many levels to the goodness of God. And I couldn't end this year, because this year has really blown my mind, man. Like, as hard as it has been the most beautiful. It's been the most beautiful year. And I want everybody to experience this feeling, like, even in the hard times, God, you are still good. And how do I know that? Because I got evidence through every hardship that I've been through. I didn't have to figure it all out on my own. For walking in faith, I'm not going to lie, it's scary. It's hard. Like, even for me now, like, as I'm saying this to you, like, I'm speaking out of faith about what God is doing, like, that he'll continue to even be good. What if he changes his mind? I don't know. But sometimes you might have to do it scared. You might have to say, okay, God, I don't want to trust you, but I do, because I don't really got no other options either. And so because you be in that space where it's like, okay, because doing it my way is exhausting. But like when you got a reverence for him, then you more in tune to what he wants for you, and even down to just like resting in him. And I wanted to share this because this is something that God had to remind me of recently, about how we cannot earn salvation. Like, I can't do enough things to get enough heaven points. I ain't gotta work so hard. And I'm gonna be so transparent. So earlier, maybe last week, was it last week? I could feel my body was getting tired and my mind was getting tired. And God was telling me, like, hey, you need to kind of rest. You need to rest. And like, or take it easy, because I go to the gym 5 days a week and I'm like, no, I got to do this. I got to get up and I got to, like, I'm just doing and doing and doing and doing. Because for me, I don't know, I'm one of those people, I don't know what the proper term is, but like, I like to be busy. It makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something. Like I set goals, and I'm not saying like I execute everything excellent every day. I'm not saying that, but I have goals and things that I want to do. So it's like, if I got to at least accomplish one thing, that just makes me feel good about myself, especially in this season of the unknown, because I say unknown because it's like, I've been calling myself an entrepreneur quietly, but it's like, that's what it's given. But then like, my bank account, it's like, is this what it's giving? How long this gonna last? I don't really know what I'm doing. God help me. And so it makes me feel like I gotta earn rest. And I'm gonna be honest, like, so flow was coming, and I'm like, maybe it's just because I'm tired. Maybe that's why I'm feeling like I need to rest. But then God's like, no, you need to chill. And then my sister Jay called me, and she just was like, hey, when she FaceTimed me, and I was in a bed one day, because like I was still like going to the gym, given a half job at the gym, tired, barely getting through. But it was like, oh, at least I showed up. But it's like, you showed up, but basically I was trying to pour from an empty cup in everything that I was doing. And God was like, I need you to rest. And so when Jay called me, she looked at me, she was like, she said it in a nice way, but she was like, you don't look good. Like you don't look right. And I told her, like, I kind of don't feel good. She's like, yeah, you probably should just chill. And so the next day I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to go to the gym. I'll go on a hike. It's like, girl, my nose was like, I was starting to get kind of body aches, and I had served like probably 3 days that week, volunteered at a couple places. And, so I was like, I am kind of tired, but I'll just go. I got to do something today. And so I'm like, I'm just going to go on a hike. And like the day before, and I was talking to Jay, she was like, I'm going to check on you, to make sure you're good and make sure that you're resting. And I guess my rest was like, I'm going to rest from the gym, but I'm still going to go and move. So she called me the next day, and I was out hiking, and she just looked at me like, you don't listen, right? And I'm like, I'll be fine. I'm about to go get a ginger shot. When I tell you the next day, I was tired. My body was achy. I had a headache. But I'm like, whatever it is, like, I'll be better tomorrow, When I tell you the next day, I could not move. And I could barely get out of bed. I got a dog, so I got to like get up to walk my dog. And I'm like, oh my God, my head was so heavy. And my body was achy. I had a fever. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? And so I'm thinking like, maybe I got the Rona or something. And I ended up like, I tried to like rest for that day. And I'm like, if I don't feel better later on, then I'm going to take a test. Took a test and it was negative. And I'm like, I don't know what it is, but I could not move. I'm like literally like in the bed. And I didn't do anything, but I walked my dog and I was like in the bed the whole day. I didn't eat for like 2 days because I couldn't move. And during that time, like, of course, the enemy was trying to like have its way. Like, look at you, you're not working. Like, you ain't do what you said you was gonna do. Like, your plans and all this. He was just in my head, and the whole time, God was like, "I told you to rest." And I felt like, and I just had this conversation with a friend. Like, I felt like I haven't earned no rest. Why? Like, rest is hard for me to sit down and do nothing. Like, I felt like rest is for people who work, who earn to rest. I don't think that you're supposed to be just out here working and not rest. I do think rest is important, but I didn't feel like I did enough to earn it. And so God was like, I don't need you ain't got to perform for me. Like, if you take a break today, I promise you everything, let it be still going to be there tomorrow. Like, you can relax. Your body's still going to function tomorrow. Like, you can relax. You can have a rest day. Like, it's okay to rest. And because I was disobedient when he had been prompting me days and weeks ahead, like, you need to like chill out. I can kind of, something's off. I didn't do it. So he forced his hand, and I didn't even have like the Rona. I just was like, I don't even know what's wrong with me. And when I tell you that, I was down for probably like 4 days or so, 4 or 5 days, not knowing what's wrong, but I'm like, but something's wrong. And all I could do was rest, hair matted to the back of my head, everything. Like, I just had to lay down and be still. And in that, God really just showed me like how disobedient that I was being, and how that's also tied into pride, because it's like, you think you think that this success is based off of your works. That's how we get casual in our relationship. It's like, oh God, I'm gonna add you onto my plans. He's like, no, I told you to rest, because that's what I meant. And even my homegirl was like, she asked me, when is your Sabbath? And I was like, what? I didn't even, and the thing is, like, I've checked her about resting, but again, I felt like I hadn't accomplished enough to earn a Sabbath. And what God showed me is like, you don't earn a Sabbath, but even God rested on the 7th day. So who are you to say you can't rest? Who are you? When I tell you, he humbled me so bad. And I'm glad that he taught me that, because as this thing continues to grow, or I really don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like, I don't know what's next for me, but I know that if I'm not good, nothing else that I touch is going to be good. Not me walking in my purpose, not my relationship with him. Nothing else is going to be good, because our bodies are a vessel, but we pour from an overflow, not an empty cup. So I don't know who it is that needed to hear that, but I'm just here to tell you, like, learn from me. Like, rest is okay. It is not nothing that you got to earn. It is a requirement. We are supposed to have rest. We don't have to work to perform our way into heaven. It ain't no kind of bonus heaven points that we can do by overworking ourselves. Especially like something I was telling my homegirl, like, how sometimes God showed me how casual I was starting to get with him, because you do things out of routine. Like, I wake up in the morning, I read my devotional as soon as I wake up. But I ain't gonna lie, like, am I more motivated by my Bible streak, or am I more motivated because I really want to like sit and rest in his word? Not that I gotta get up and perform perform while I'm reading and just recite everything and know all the scripture. But he was just like, what did you read? What was in your devotional this morning? And I was like, when I was talking to my friend, and God was just reminding me of that. Like, you get up and you do these things, you don't even know what you read. And again, that's pride. That's like, oh, okay, I did it. Check. Let me go and do the other thing. I'm like, God, thank you for sitting me down to really reveal my heart to me, that I don't have to continue to just do the same mundane things. Like, what if my time with him was just to sit and be still, be quiet, so that I can hear from him, and not try to overload myself with scripture or overload myself with a sermon. I just need to hear, and do. It's like, be still. You don't have to earn your way into heaven by all your works. Sometimes the worship is just being still and taking account for everything that you've done, taking inventory. But sometimes, like, God just wants you to be still, to pause, maybe to reflect, to embrace his love, to be quiet enough to hear from him, to think about the faithfulness of him. Maybe that's all he wants you to do. So I'm just saying, it doesn't have to look the same every day. And God forced his hand for me to realize that, like, I don't want to be out here doing things on my own strength, God, because I need your strength. And sometimes your strength comes from me just being quiet and letting you fill me up, being quiet and letting you make me do a heart check. You know, that can be enough, you know? And so I don't know, like when he shared that with me, it really, like, I had to repent about that. But man, he just showed me, like, don't get casual with me, don't get comfortable with me doing this out of routine. You need to be intentional. What did you read in your devotional? You got up and read the scripture. What did it mean? How did you apply that to your day? Did you just do it out of a routine? Check. Wake up, read my Bible. Check. Wake up, brush my teeth. Check. Listen to worship music. Check. Our relationship with him it cannot be casual. And I just implore you, like, don't go into the new year the same way. Don't approach the new year doing the same thing that you've been doing. Because it don't matter what level of faith you're on. There's another level that you can go. It don't matter how long you've been a believer. It don't matter how long you've been doing the thing. Sometimes God just wants you to sit and sit with him in silence. That's okay. You ain't got to always work. You ain't got to perform for him. And, like, I'm glad that he showed me that, especially coming into the end of the year, because now it's making me more intentional about how I think about next year, how I think about my goals. Like, I have goals, but I don't know what God want to do. You know, it's made me, like, really, really sit and be intentional with that. So I don't know. I hope that my vulnerability, and, like, my reflection is helping you in your reflection. I'm not saying I do everything right. I'm not saying I know everything. But what I am saying is that God he ain't playing about us. You know, he wants more of us, and not more in works, more of obedience, more of surrender. So I just pray that during these last couple of weeks this last week of the year, or regardless, it don't matter when you're watching this, to be honest. Like, take inventory of your heart. Take inventory of some of the things you could have picked up. Take inventory of the times. Like, have I been casual in my relationship with God? Do I lean on him because I need him? I mean, we need him every day. But do I only lean on him when I feel like I'm in disaster or despair? Or is it my daily bread? Like, do I live off of him, you know? And, like, when I say live off of him, just living off of being able to hear him, living off of his word, living off of his worship, living off in the stillness of him. Like, there's just so many levels. And I just don't want you to approach this new year, the same way you've been living the past years. Like, and if you don't know him, get to know him. Ask him, like, what is it? I want to have that level of understanding, of clarity, of peace. Like, ask him, God, like, what I want to know what it's like to have a relationship with you, regardless of how sinful you think you are. Like, trust me, I got a lot of stripes on my shoulder. I done a lot of things in my life. And God uses me still, and he's qualified me. He's equipped me and qualified me, you know, along the way. And so, like, you're not too messed up for God. You've not fallen off track, and, like, he's not done with you. You know, you can come to him exactly where you are. So if this conversation was for you, if it blessed you, which I hope it did, like, maybe I was rambling too much, but I hope that it's blessed you, because God has really, like, made me do a heart check. And as a result of that, of my heart check, and just really taking inventory of my year, just thanking him for one, and being, and just having, like, I have so much gratitude for him, and the reverence that I have for him is I would have not had it at this level if I have not gone through the hardship and things that I've experienced this year. And so I want that for you too. And this is so big for me to say, but I'm going to say it because God told me to. If you're watching this episode, or if you are listening to this episode, I have something for you. I can't believe I'm saying this. I have something for you. So if you've already probably been nosy or looked at the link below, I created a 3-day devotional to kind of help you do an inventory of your heart, to do an inventory of where you are in your relationship with God and where you want to be. Okay, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, because this has been on my heart for so long. And I have been so afraid, which is crazy because I used to write devotionals every day, but I felt like I stopped doing it for so long. It's like, oh, I don't know how to do it no more. God's like, this is what I want you to do. And so this is another level, another surrender for me. If you've been watching this or if you've already, looked and saw, I want you to click the link in my bio and enjoy this 3-day devotional that I have created, that I've written, just to do just have inventory of where you are, just a temperature check, where you are, where you want to be, how you want to grow. And I hope that it blesses you. The way that God has walked me through this year, man, I'm not telling you this because I'm teaching at you or preaching at you. I'm telling you this because it's like what I've had to live through, what I've had to ask myself. So I hope that it blesses you. Merry Christmas, because this episode, today's Christmas if you're watching it on the day of its release. But if not, it's still there. Enjoy. But yes, that is it. That is all. I'm amazed at God. I'm amazed at everything that He has done this year. I'm excited for the new year, even though I don't know what's on the other side. When I tell you, if God don't do it, it just won't get done. Because I am at the end of myself. I've come to the end of myself. So I am just a vessel. So this is honestly just even a reminder to myself. God, I did what you asked me to do. I've surrendered this entire year to you. I did it afraid. I did it uncertain. I did it unknowing. I did it when I didn't feel good, when I was mad at you, when I felt like you left me. I've given you my yes. I've given you my surrender, God. And so have your way. Whatever you want to do with it, that is my heart's posture. I hope that is that you, if you're not there, you can get there, even in these seasons of uncertainty. Like, God is not conditional with you. He's not conditional. He wants to have that intimate space with you. He wants you to lean on Him, to put your trust in Him, to put your faith in Him. He wants that from us because we are His children. And there's such a deeper level than God just being Jehovah Jireh. Right? There's such a deeper level to Him. He is literally the I am. He's the I am. And I just want that for everybody. So I know I've been talking a lot longer than I intended on it, but I hope that this episode has been a blessing to you. I do want to give you a couple songs that I've kind of listened to, that I've related to. Let It Be, if you don't know, Let It Be has a playlist. It's called Let It Be the Playlist, and it is full of music that it's been put together by my guests and myself. Just music that I listen to when I need to be encouraged, when I need to feel like heard by God, or I need something that's a little bit relatable to where I am. It's just like a pick me up bank. Take what you need, get what you need from it. But I got a couple songs that I want to add to it, and it is actually one of the songs is from I think it's Maverick City, featuring Todd Galbraith. I love Todd Galbraith. He's one of my favorite worshipers. Tasha Cobbs, Naomi Rain. Oh my God, Chandler Moore. Maverick City has been I have really such a blessing. But anyways, the song is called Questions, because in the song, Todd just I got questions for you, God, because it's not really giving what I thought it was going to give. I got some questions and some doubts. It's God is not scared of your questions. Bring them to Him. Let Him know He's not scared of you. It ain't nothing that you can say. It ain't nothing that you can do to offend Him. It's who do you think you are? So give those to Him. And when I listen to that song, it's wow, thank you, God. I need it. I'm glad that I'm not alone. That's why I love music. Is so powerful. It really lets you know that you're not alone. So that's one of the songs. It's called Questions by Maverick City. Another song that has really, really comforted me and kept me, it is called Evidence. And it's by Naomi Rain. And sorry, I gotta find it so I don't mess it up. Okay, my bad. I'm back. All right, yeah. So there's another song that I listened to that has been a hug for me when I start to get weary, when I'm starting to doubt and question, God, are you still there? You changed your mind already? But it's called Evidence. It's by Refresh Worship and Naomi Rain. That song has really I can play that song and probably start crying. Because it's God has given you evidence of his word. He's given you evidence of his promise. No matter how hard it has gotten, even when you have gotten down to the bottom of the bottomest, to the lowest, God has like shown you that he's shown you evidence. If I did it before, why wouldn't I do it again? And I hope that that blesses somebody, because that's definitely carried me. It's like, God, I'm starting to doubt you. It's getting a little ghetto. I don't know if what you said is the truth. It's like, I've shown you before. There's evidence of my word. And let me see. I want to give one more. This is kind of one of my favorite songs I like to listen to. I listen to it. It's not necessarily that new, but it's called Sustain. It's by Transformation Worship. And Chandler Moore and Jacqueline Carr. But it's called Sustain. And a lot of that is what I've just had to do. Like, I've had to like rest on God sustaining me, because he's the only one that's been able to do it. And like my strength, like I ain't got enough strength to fight. I haven't had enough strength to fight this on my own. And God has sustained me through every season, every valley, every mountain, every hill. Like he has been faithful. And so I just pray that those songs, like, you add them, take what you need from Let It Be, the playlist. But that's really it. And also the devotional. I hope that it blesses you. And please know that so much more is coming from Let It Be in this new year, Lord willing. That's my vision. But God's plans don't be looking like mine. So I'm just here for the ride. So, there is so much more to come from Let It Be, the podcast. Thank you for listening. This year, I pray that it has been a blessing to you. I pray that it has encouraged you. I'm so excited for what God is going to do in my life. I'm so excited for what God is going to do in your life. And I just thank you for being on this journey with me. But until next year, we'll be back in January. But thank you so much for listening to me and just reflecting. And I pray that it encouraged you. I pray that it's caused you to like do some internal searching, But if you like what you heard, there's so many more episodes to choose from. But share it with somebody else that you hear that needs to be encouraged. Send this to them. If it's blessed you, I will say, like, I know people watch it, but like subscriptions help the podcast grow. And it helps it be seen by others. So if you like it, subscribe. You can leave a comment, like the video. Just the engagement helps. Or leave a review if you're listening to it on Spotify, Apple, or however you're listening to it. It really does help make a difference, and it helps. It just helps the word get out, because this is really not about me. This is about you. This is about you. But that's it. That's all. I pray that this year, this rest of this holiday season, is a blessing for you. Even if you're not necessarily, like, if you don't feel your best, I pray that you look internally, just ask God to to restore you, or feel those voids that you're having, like, or invite him into those spaces and let him do it for you, because, despite how it looks, every day ain't perfect for me either. Even when I'm recording, sometimes I don't feel it, but I surrender, so I just want the same for you. So I'm just so excited for what's to come. Let me know if this episode has been a blessing to you. Leave a comment below. But until next time, next year, I can't believe I got through 2024. I can't believe I got through this year. This year has been so crazy. My mind is so blown, and I'm excited. Like, God, if you did this with a little that I had, what you gonna do next? Like, I'm curious. So, but thank you so much for being on this journey with me. It means the world. I'm probably talking too much now, so I'm gonna go. But I love y'all so much, and I will talk to you later. Oh, well, I guess in the meantime, you can follow me on social media at Fergie. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, unless they take it from us. TikTok, Instagram. You can follow Let It Be the podcast at Let It Be Podcast. Subscribe, like, share, comment, all the things that people do. Send me an email. You can find me on my website. I have some things coming up, like mailing list. There's just so many things that are coming up, because I want to really build the community and stay connected with everybody. So tune in. Make sure you are following me on social media. Make sure you are subscribed, because you just never know who's going to be on the show. You never know. You just don't know what's next. Okay. So thank you so much for listening. I pray that it has been a blessing. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, and all the other things. Okay. Love y'all so much. Talk to you later. Bye. Say bye, bro. Say bye.